the Billionaire's rare vault rings you have never seen. Somewhere in a Swiss vault, a ring worth more than your entire neighbourhood sits in the dark, and no one is allowed to photograph it. These aren't the diamonds paparazzi chase. These are the ones billionaires never wanted you to see. Some were hidden after scandal, some after death. One woman wore hers for 50 years without ever explaining where it came from. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. Heidi Horton's pink diamond ring. Heidi Horton was, by the time of her death in 2022, the woman who owned what auction houses would later call the largest and most valuable private jewellery collection ever brought to sale. Among her hoard sat a fancy pink diamond of just over 20 carats, cut to a soft pear silhouette and set simply in gold. Deceptively understated for a woman who owned a 90-carat diamond necklace and a legendary Cartier ruby. But here's what almost nobody outside her closest circle knew while she was alive. Heidi's fortune traced back to her husband, Helmut Horten, a department store magnate whose empire was partly built by buying up Jewish-owned businesses under Nazi-era duress. Heidi wore her pink diamond at private galas, at her own art museum openings, rarely explaining where the money, or the stone, truly came from. When Christie's finally auctioned her collection in 2023, the pink diamond ring sold for close to $5 million. But the story of how it was worn in silence for 50 years, that's the part the world only started whispering about after she was gone. Flora Ogilvy's ring. Flora Ogilvy isn't a name most people recognise instantly, but she is the granddaughter of Princess Alexandra, a cousin to the king himself, quietly royal in a way that never courted headlines. When Swedish financier Timothy Westerberg proposed to her in 2019, he didn't choose a flashy new diamond built for Instagram. He chose a Victorian-era pear-shaped diamond, tailor-made into a ring so restrained it barely resembles what you'd expect from a family with a tiara in the closet. That's the twist. In a world of billion-dollar rocks, Flora's ring is a quiet rebellion. A century-old stone reset for a woman with a master's degree in art history, more curator than princess. It was worn to a private blessing at St. James's Palace, photographed only by her own father. No red carpet, no press release. Just old stone, new love, and a family determined to keep the moment theirs. But minimalist doesn't always mean simple, and the story of exactly how old that diamond really is might surprise you more than any 8-figure auction lot. The Mellon Blue. Rachel Bunny. Mellon spent her life redesigning the White House Rose Garden for President Kennedy and quietly shaping American high society, all while almost never speaking to the press. So when a 9.51 carat vivid blue diamond, internally flawless, surfaced after her death in 2014, jewelers were stunned. It had lived for decades as a pendant in her private collection, rarely seen, before being remounted into a swirling ring design and renamed in her honour, the Mellon Blue. Blue diamonds this pure make up a fraction of all diamonds mined on Earth, coloured by trace boron locked inside the stone under conditions found nowhere else. In 2014, it sold for over $32 million. In 2025, it resurfaced again at Christie's Geneva, selling for $25 million. 2 sales over a decade apart, and still, almost nobody has ever seen it in person. The gem of gems, they call it. But why did Bunny Mellon keep something this rare hidden as a mere pendant instead of flaunting it? The answer says everything about the woman she was. Lady Kitty Spencer's ring. When Princess Diana's niece, Lady Kitty Spencer, got engaged to South African billionaire Michael Lewis, the internet did the math immediately, a 32-year age gap between bride and groom. But it was the ring, handcrafted in platinum, that told its own quieter story. An 8-carat emerald-cut diamond ringed by French-cut rubies and diamond baguettes, designed with an old-world restraint that felt almost aristocratic rather than flashy. Kitty kept the ring largely out of public view for months after their 2020 engagement. No viral reveal, no magazine exclusive, just a slow unveiling that only truly surfaced after their 3-day Italian wedding in 2021. Some royal watchers still believe the ruby detailing was a deliberate nod to something hidden in the Spencer family history. Whether that's true or simply romantic myth-making, one thing is certain. Kitty Spencer wears her fortune the way she was raised to, quietly, until she decides otherwise. Barbara Hutton's Pasha Diamond. Few rings on earth carry a backstory as violent as the Pasha Diamond. Originally a roughly 40-carat stone tied to Ibrahim Pasha, a powerful Egyptian viceroy, the diamond was later linked to Ismail Pasha, who was forced into exile in 1879 and reportedly fled the country carrying it with him. Decades later it resurfaced in Europe, passed through King Farouk of Egypt, and eventually landed at the doorstep of Bulgaria, where Woolworth heiress Barbara Hutton found it. Hutton, unsatisfied with its original shape, did something almost unthinkable. She had Cartier recut the historic 40-carat stone down to a 36-carat round brilliant, permanently erasing its original form to suit her own taste. She wore the finished ring constantly, in Cecil Beaton portraits, at galas, as a signature piece that seemed to follow her volatile, scandal-filled life like a shadow. Today, the ring lives quietly in a private European collection. No auction house, no public sightings. The diamond that survived a royal exile disappeared once more, this time on purpose. Heidi Horton's Sunrise Ruby. Back to Heidi Horton, because one ring in her collection deserves its own chapter entirely. The Sunrise Ruby, a 25.59-carat Burmese pigeon's bloodstone set by Cartier, is considered one of the finest rubies ever to appear at auction. The colour so pure it's compared to the first light of dawn. When it first sold at Sotheby's Geneva in 2016, it fetched over $30 million, a world record for a ruby at the time. Heidi Horton acquired it after that sale, wore it in her private world of art openings and foundation galas, only for it to return to auction after her death in 2023, this time selling for a comparatively modest $14.7 million, less than half its earlier price. Experts still debate why. Was the market cooling, or was it the shadow of her husband's Nazi-era fortune finally catching up to the sale? Either way, the ruby that once broke records now carries a far heavier story than its colour alone. Brooke Astor's Emerald Ring. In 1953, when New York socialite Brooke Astor married her third husband Vincent Astor, he gave her a 22.84-carat emerald-cut emerald flanked by baguette diamonds, a strikingly unusual choice at a time when diamond solitaires were the expected standard, especially for a third marriage some expected her to approach quietly. She did the opposite. She paired the ring with an emerald green gown and made it clear this marriage would not be understated. Vincent died just 6 years later, but the ring stayed with Astor for the rest of her extraordinary 105-year life, worn to complete the colour scheme of entire outfits, as she once wrote herself. When her estate finally went to auction at Sotheby's in 2012, the ring, expected to fetch around $150,000, sold for $1.2 million, 10 times its estimate. Nearly 6 decades after Vincent gave it to her, strangers were still fighting over the right to hold what he once slipped onto her hand. Daisy Knatchbull's Turtle Ring. Not every ring on this list cost millions, and that's exactly the point of this final one. Daisy Knatchbull, great-granddaughter of Earl Mountbatten and a third cousin to Princes William and Harry, comes from a family practically swimming in royal jewels. When her partner, Italian music executive Giovanni Damiani, proposed to her on a beach in the Bahamas in 2026, he didn't hand her a diamond at all. He gave her a gold ring shaped like a turtle, its shell formed from a milky, opalescent cabochon stone instead of a single glittering diamond. Daisy herself joked about it online, saying she was making gift shop turtle rings a thing. Jewellery experts who examined it later called it charming, unconventional, and almost certainly destined to be swapped for something more traditional down the line. But for now, in a family where tiaras and heirloom emeralds are practically a birthright, Daisy chose to defy every expectation, and that, in itself, might be the most quietly rebellious ring of them all. 8 rings, 8 women, every one of them chose to hide, disguise, or quietly reinvent what the world expected billionaire jewellery to look like. Which one surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. And if you want the vault opened again, hit subscribe, because there are far more hidden gems where these came from.